Hello friends, I am CA Abhay Kamat. We are going to deal with SA 500 audit evidence. In any audit evidence plays very important role because on the basis of audit evidences, the conclusions are drawn and these conclusions help the auditor to form his opinion. Therefore, we have got standard on auditing 500 audit evidence. The overall standard is divided into various parts. The overview is given in this slide. We'll be dealing with this particular aspects in the coming slides. As far as the scope of the standard is concerned, the standard explains the audit evidence with respect to the financial statements, and this standard is applicable to all audit evidences, may it be oral audit evidence, written audit evidence, or internal audit evidence, or external audit evidence, and so on. It also deals with the auditor's responsibility to design the audit procedure to obtain sufficiently appropriate audit evidence. Mind my word, that is sufficient appropriate audit evidences, and the conclusions of these audit evidences helps the auditor to form his audit opinion. Therefore, the objective of the auditor is to design this procedure in such a way that it enables him to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidences to be able to draw a reasonable conclusion on which to base the auditor's opinion. The standard also gives various definitions, say accounting records, audit evidence, appropriateness of audit evidence, etc. Accounting records, all of you know that the record of initial accounting entries and supporting documents. For audit purpose, we always depend on the books of accounts, may it be in electronic manner or physical manner. Audit evidence is the information used by the auditor in arriving at the conclusions on various audit opinions are based. And as far as the appropriateness of audit evidence is concerned, the quality of audit evidence depends on its relevance and reliability. Why I say relevance is that it should be objective audit evidence, it should be relevant to the audit process, and definitely the audit evidence should be reliable. So this will help the auditor to form his audit opinions, and therefore the quality of audit evidence and its conclusions, the better they are, the better will be the audit opinion. Another definition given is sufficiency of the audit evidence. The quantity of audit evidence is most important. In repetitive transactions, we go by selection of samples. The sample has to be selected logically and rationally. Similarly, where other than accounting aspects, we have to take help of some management expert. Then in that case, how to take that help of management expert is also mentioned in this standard. Management expert is either individual or organization possessing expertise in the field other than accounting or auditing, whose work is used by the entity in preparation of financial statement. We have seen various places where valuations report are obtained from the valuer or actuarial valuation than the actuary. These are opinions of management expert. Then we go to the sufficient appropriate audit evidence. The auditor has to design and perform his audit procedure in such a manner that the audit evidence obtained is appropriate and reliable. For obtaining this sufficient appropriate audit evidence, the auditor should use his professional judgment to decide whether it is genuinely appropriate and sufficient or not. The sufficiency or appropriateness of audit evidence depends on various factors. It gets affected by various factors. What is the audit procedure the auditor follows that affects the sufficient appropriate audit evidence? Its timelines for financial reporting also determines what should be the audit evidence, whether it is sufficient or appropriate or not. And similarly, the auditor has to keep in mind the balance between the cost and its final relevance as far as benefit is concerned. Other important facts about the audit evidence is one has to remember that it cannot be seen from isolation. It is cumulative in nature. It is primarily obtained during the audit and not after the audit or when the opinion is expressed. Then information from other sources which are collected, they are from previous audits. You can reevaluate before using them. Then the quality control policies of the audit firm, that is SQC1, guides us as far as the client acceptance and continuation quality assurance, accounting records at the client's place, and other sources may be internal or external to the entity. Mind well, the audit evidence comprises of both information, that is, which corroborates with the management assertions as well as contradicts with the management assertions. Both are important. Not only that one, absence of information is also sometimes used as audit evidence, because you have called for some confirmation from the external party which is not received. So there may be possibility that a particular transaction may not be appropriate, or it may not be convenient for the third party to confirm such wrong confirmation, and therefore absence of information is also sometimes used as audit evidence. This is a pictorial form, that is, while obtaining the audit evidence, what are the various aspects as an auditor we have to consider. The stages could be inspection, observation, confirmation, recalculation, reperformance, some analytical procedures, inquiries, and that all together, a bundle of such activities will be considered as audit evidence. It cannot be done either in isolation. Therefore, mere inquiry is not enough to say that it's a sufficient appropriate audit evidence. While obtaining the audit evidence, the risk assessment procedure have to be followed, and accordingly it has to be determined as to what audit evidence will be relevant and reliable. Then there will be further audit procedures like test of controls, the controls lying at the auditee's place or the concern's place. Auditor may carry out substantive procedures like test of details, or even on the basis of test check, substantive analytical procedures. And the nature and timing of the audit procedures are affected by availability of audit evidence either in electronic form or otherwise, and availability of audit evidence at certain points or the period of time. We'll deal with each activity separately. Say for example, inspection. Inspection involves examination of records and documents. These documents may be internal documents or external documents. It may be in paper form, electronic form, or in any other media. One can also carry out physical examination of assets. Most of the places, whenever fixed assets are to be verified, the auditor prefers to verify them at least at periodical intervals if there is a continuous assignment. The reliability of the source, what you can say, reliability depends upon the source of such audit evidence, maybe internal document, effectiveness of control over their production. This could be possible audit evidence. Next stage is observation. It consists of looking at the process or procedures being performed by others. It is not necessarily a document before you, but you just observe what is the process by which the particular activity is carried out. Then external confirmations. Audit evidence obtained as direct written response to the auditor's request from the third party in paper form, electronic form, or other medium. Normally this type of external confirmations are used to confirm the balances or confirming the agreements or transactions. As far as standards are concerned, there is a separate standard on external confirmation, SA 505, and we'll be dealing with that standard separately. Having got the external confirmations, the auditor has to recalculate and reperform certain processes. What is recalculation? It's a checking mathematical accuracy of the documents or records. Say for example, you get a statement from third-party supplier about the account in his books of accounts. The auditor tries to match the same statement with the accounts of the auditee and carry out see whether mathematical accuracy is there or not, accounting accuracy is there or not. This may be done manually or electronically. If the auditor finds there are certain discrepancies in that one, then he may independently execute certain procedures. He will also try to see what are the controls which were there originally performed at the internal control level of the entity, and subsequently re-perform this activity in order to conclude on his opinion. As far as analytical procedures are concerned, it consists of evaluation of the financial information. We try to see such financial information made by a study of possible relationship among the financial and non-financial data. It also encompasses the investigation of identified fluctuations, relationship that are inconsistent with other relevant information, shows significant deviation from the predictions. Then inquiry. In fact, inquiry is the backbone, I can say, of audit inquiry. Auditor has to be inquisitive. He has to raise various questions. These questions, as it is said, should be open-ended questions which will give maximum information. The information or the inquiry should be made at various sources so that its reliability can be cross-checked. Thus, inquiry consists of seeking information of knowledgeable person, those who are relevant, only with whom inquiry can be made. It can be both financial inquiry as well as non-financial aspect. It will be within the organization or outside the entity also. It may be written one or oral, and it will be evaluation of responses to inquiries is an integral part of the inquiry process. Auditor has to evaluate the results of inquiry and accordingly take further decision about his opinion. Normally, those who are charged with the governance, they give written representation, and such management written representation should conform to the responses which are given or which are received at the inquiry. So while designing and performing the audit procedures, please consider the relevance and reliability of this information to be used as audit evidence, because if they are not relevant, if they are not reliable, possibly the conclusions will be wrong and naturally the audit opinion will be wrong. Now, as far as relevance of the audit evidence is concerned, the audit observation or audit evidence should be relevant, it should be reliable as well, which is affected by source, what way you get this audit evidence. The nature of audit evidence, oral or written. Sometimes certain observations and certain audit evidences are oral, which may be less reliable as compared to the written audit evidences. Then circumstances in which these audit evidences are obtained and the controls over preparation and maintenance. So generalizations regarding the reliability are subject to certain, of course, important exceptions, and therefore we are trying to work out some chart by which what is less reliable and what is more reliable. Say for example, evidence obtained indirectly or by inference is less reliable as compared to evidence obtained directly by the auditor, or oral evidence is less reliable as compared to the documentary evidence, may it be paper form, electronic form, or any other medium. Photocopy, fax, film documents, this may be less reliable as compared to the original documents. So auditor has to bear in mind all these possible, what you can say, situations whereby the reliability of the audit evidence is tested. Next stage is audit evidence, which is prepared by the management expert. Sometimes what happens, we are not experts in the field and therefore we take help of other management expert during the course of accounting and in forming the audit opinion. In such cases, we have to evaluate the competence, capabilities and objectivity of the expert. We should also obtain an understanding of the work performed by this management expert. Evaluate the appropriateness of his work as the audit evidence. How do we see the competence of the management expert? That it relates to his nature and level of expertise, his market reputation, etc. As far as capability is concerned, his ability to exercise that competence. So your past experience, market reputation will decide his capability to execute this assignment. And thirdly, the objectivity of that one, it relates to the possible effects that either he is biased, conflict of interest or influence of others may have on his professional or business objectivity of this management expert. So he should be independent person, he should have highest integrity, competence, expertise, and he should be capable of executing this particular assignment given. Now, what way this source of competence, then capability and objectivity can be tested? One is personal experience with previous work, discussion with that expert, try to understand the way, process at which he carries out assignment and then form your opinion. Discussion with others who are familiar with that expert's work, then knowledge of that expert's qualification, membership or with the professional body or industry association, license to practice or other forms of external recognition as far as this management expert is concerned. Whether he had published any paper or book which is written by him as an expert, or auditor recognizes this person as expert and thereby he accepts this management expert as expert for external evidence. Therefore, understanding of expert's work by the auditor is most important. Next two slides, we are trying to list out various aspects on understanding the expert's work, which are more given in the standard. One can refer to these aspects. Auditor has to evaluate the reliability of information produced by the entity as audit evidence. So therefore, while evaluating, he has to see whether this information is sufficient, precise and detailed one for the auditor's purpose. Thus, with that audit evidence, he is able to form his audit opinion. As far as the selecting of items for testing to obtain audit evidence is concerned, the auditor has to determine the means of selecting the items for testing purpose. The auditor may carry out 100% selection of the items. 100% of the selection is done when the amounts are more and the number of transactions are less, so that auditor tries to see the entire audit mass and he is able to take that one as audit evidence. Wherever number of transactions are of repetitive nature and more in quantity, the auditor may select samples and accordingly carry out the audit. And wherever there are specific items are there, the auditor has to concentrate on these specific items, select the samples from the specific items. So that is how, while selecting the items, the auditor has to apply his professional judgment and see that they are effective in meeting the purpose of the audit procedure. Having seen the audit evidence, the auditor has to see whether there is any inconsistency of audit evidence collected from one source that with the collected from the other source, or is there any doubt as far as the reliability of information used as audit evidence, and then determine whether he has to modify the audit procedure or carry out some audit procedure additionally. After this one, the auditor will conclude and try to see whether his opinion needs to be unmodified or modified, and the documentation as per SS 230 has to be made. Thus friends, all of you will agree that appropriateness and reliability of audit evidence will help the auditor in concluding his audit opinion. Thank you very much.